someone bucking that trend in week 1. Dokla played all their games in Academy and in LCS, and then Alorum came in and played in the second week, and Dokla was just the one down here. So maybe this is a case of Acadian just playing everything. We'll have to see. Or if it's what most of the league is doing, that means we might be seeing Fnatic in the jungle.
Yeah, which is interesting because he did play yesterday in the 2 matches that they had to play. So certainly a lot to think about, but we'll have a look at the draft before we speculate any further. A bit different so far, actually. Nocturne Zoe on the OpTic side, but there's Talia actually banned by FOXA Academy. No Huni to jungle for them this game around. And Braum and Rakan, actually, 2 supports being taken away as Aurelia is the final ban on the OpTic side.
Well, once again, Kai'Sa got through.
And Kai'Sa's getting first picked.
It is surprising.
Surprise!
So, as a red side team, I get it. Nocturne, Zoe, Aurelia are 3 very strong picks that function on their own and don't require a whole comp around them, where you can argue jungle Kai'Sa does require that if you're going to funnel her, it is a whole comp, whereas all these other picks are more generically powerful in some sense, so I understand that those bans. I'm not going to hate on them.
I think even Kai'Sa bot does need some support as well, right? She can't just do everything on her own.
She's not a strong laner in that regard, so if you want to go for a more lane dominant strategy, that makes sense. But that does mean I think you have to adapt well in the draft, given that they do first pick that you need to be prepared for those funnel strats. And that's why, you know, when we looked at that TL comp in game 1, you're looking like, okay, well, if you want to battle it, Lucian Braum maybe, or you take the Nunu with the Karthus, and they just did none of those things. Here, OpTic very quickly showing their bot laner. Well, I guess technically Lucian can still flex, but at least the jungler in Graves.
One of their farmers, most certainly in
Farmers
Lucian.
is a good generic term for it.
And then Graves as well, who we already saw farming up for Under on FlyQuest. So definitely kind of showing a lot of strong early marksman, but early Xin Zhao here for Odd Orange.
Okay, so both teams right away saying no obvious funneling comps coming in for us. Kai'Sa most likely going to be in the bot lane. Xin almost definitely going to be in the jungle, and that means that Graves and Lucian are also going to have their spots. And with the Ornn pick coming in, probably top side, and OpTic could counterpick that already.
Yep, again, Aatrox, we saw it blind. It's pretty strong into most of the champions people are taking into it. We did see Renekton in the LCS get some work done there, Impact versus Haunter, but for the most part, Aatrox is very strong 1v1, especially with items. So far it does seem like we'll get a standard game, but like you said, the nice thing about this meta is that drafts are very undecided.
Well, that's what's interesting that I was about to say about here is usually, even if you have matched roles, you don't know that early on. Whereas here, there's really not much flexibility because both teams have picked champions which basically have to be junglers, which gets rid of a lot of the potentials. And so with these bans coming in, both teams are basically banning out mid laners and supports. And that's something that you almost never see, where not only are you matched in the fact that you both know what other people are doing, but you're matched at the exact same positions as well. So this is a very different draft than we've seen before, even though a lot of the champions are the same.
Yeah, and it feels like maybe some of the early support bans by FOXA Academy kind of prompted some of this stuff, like without Braum, without Rakan. The final stuff gets a little trickier to do, perhaps, especially on the Fox side. They wanted Kai'Sa, but they were like, okay, we don't want to also give away Braum. So, hard to say. I guess we'll find out soon. Time Can't Rumble, though, banned by OpTic, and Morgana banned by Fox.
Yeah, Yasui receiving some bans after his good games. Not going to see any of those champions. And like you were saying, yes, with the Rakan and Braum ban, those are gone. You can still run it with Taric, as we saw in the previous game. We also know Nunu still works, so they had their options, but maybe their premier picks were gone. They would prefer to default down to a more standard comp, classic comp.
Well, we'll see just how classic it gets. Lulu banned by FOXA Academy, so expecting some sort of defensive supports there for Lucian, or perhaps a not yet seen bot laner. But OpTic will have to show a little bit more here in this draft. And Alistar locked in, so presumably a support. That one's relatively easy to lock down.
Yeah, you can basically assume that. Shen is still up, which is another common pick in the support position right now, so maybe that's going to be what they grab. Also, technically that Ornn can still flex. We have seen a fair amount, but not a champion with too much synergy with Kai'Sa built in, so probably not going to see that down there.
And it is a little weird to see so many defensive supports taken away in a Kai'Sa lane, but I guess like Shen instead. Probably for Adrian, and now one last pick will give us a better idea of what FOXA Academy are trying to do here.
Yeah, I mean, so far it looks like a pretty standard comp. I mean, if you're looking at, once again, standard picks in the mid lane now, you're looking more at Swain and things like that. I mean, we've seen Victor out of Palafox. Yasuo's still up, and Yasui has been doing really well with the more aggressive melee-centric champions. So this is actually a pretty good pick for him with a lot of knockups to work with. The Zen ult counting, his Q working, as well as all of Ornn's abilities.
Yep, and of course, Yasuo, we saw this already with CLG. Yasuo Kai'Sa has not innate synergy necessarily, but they both kind of want to do the same thing. You want someone to CC for you and then be able to follow up aggressively and wipe the carries off the team fight and go from there. So all that being put together, I kind of like. You said Swain, very strong, so PowerFox is going to stick to mages here and take that champion for himself. And I assume this is how things are going. We're going to move Eclipse and Dokla will swap champions, and then Gate will swap with him. Like you said, expected standard after the first 6 picks, and that looks to be what we're getting.
Yep, and as a result, Echo Fox still has a little bit of mind games to play. Oh, actually, they put the Orm back top. For a second ago, they had it down there, but OpTic finally starts swapping their picks around. I don't know, it's a little risky to wait to the last possible second.
True.
Sometimes that
everyone's got to fix their master their runes and make sure everything's all good, and
yep.
I don't know, taking some water, but yeah, they do swap it up. We'll of course lock them in now, so
standard, baby.
All right, well, I was gonna say, you know what, Mark? Funnel is 3-0 today. Now Funnel won't win this game.
Funnel cannot win this game.
It's literally unwinnable.
It's also unlosable.
That's true. Very rare state we're gonna get. I mean, kind of fun to return to some somewhat normalcy. Certainly some high octane champions, especially on the FOXA Academy side. Kind of excited to see what they do with some of their aggressive picks. For OpTic, I think just picking power in all their lanes and trying to go from there. And of course with Acadian coming on down to play here in this game. We'll see what he can get up to versus OddOrange, who's a bit hot and cold as a jungler, but when he's on, he looks real good.
Yeah, I mean, as much as we're talking about funneling not always being super aggressive in the early game, both these teams, especially on the side of OpTic, have the tools to get aggressive early on. Lucian, much more early game focus, wants to win before Kai'Sa really comes online. Swain is pretty much strong at all points in the game. He's almost never bad. I guess we would say pre-6 is the worst he gets, and it's all up after that. So he'll be good, and obviously Aatrox wants to be that split push threat, and Fox do have some tools to deal with it. You can always match him with some other champs like the Kai'Sa or the see some skirmishing.
Adrian found 2 friends. They were not very friendly. Gate does get a knock up there, but just some trade damage back and forth, and looks like it's too late to go back home, so he's going to drink some potions and walk on down to lane for OpTic and to the red buff there for Fox Academy. It looks like that's where OddOrange will be starting. Acadian starting Raptors by the looks of things.
I'm excited that Acadian is on Graves, pretty aggro champion. Hopefully we'll be able to snowball like before, as we were saying, was very impressive as he was Kha'Zix last time he was in Academy. Got 4-0 or something in kills early on, got the Moby boots and just ran around the map, top to bottom, murdering people one at a time.
These are 2 pretty high-V junglers in general, actually, so kind of expecting a lot of early action, especially since we have standard lanes for the first time today. To see how matchup goes as well. Some short range, pretty flashy marksman here in the bot lane. And some melee supports as well. Looks like the race to level 2 is on, and OpTic are barely winning right now.
It'll be close. I mean, both supports are really kind of not very strong until they get their level 2, and it looks like Echo Fox are going to give that one up. Don't want to risk the all-in as Alistar power spikes pretty hard with the WQ combo, and Lucian able to follow up with the dash.
Yeah, Lost though, just taking his farm, playing it safe. I'm going to wait for this wave to move back over. OddOrange onto the Gromp, going to take that one down. Looks like both crabs are still up. Dokla actually roaming down to try and spot the jungler, and we'll at least get information. Does not see Xin Zhao exactly, but should know that probably missing as you see the ping there from Dokla.
Should know that he started on the bot side, given the leash, and then should also know with the blue buff gone, he's now on the top side. But like you said, a little surprising to see no early scuttles focus down. It was one of those very hot topics during the mid-season when everyone was busy with MSI. People who weren't there were debating the level 2s and how important that was, and you got all these level 2 fights, and it was you can't lose a scuttle crab, and then there was a bit of a counter opinion where people were saying the first couple scuttle crabs are okay to sack, you can focus more on power farming, and then it's the later ones that you really need to work together on. And surprisingly, both junglers focusing more on their own camps than the scuttle crabs.
Yeah, it's actually
initially.
Double buffs into scuttles here. Acadian looking to steal these away. OddOrange can really only just watch, although now getting a roam down happening. Good smoke in there from Acadian. Gate with a double knock up there from the pulverize. OddOrange, he's dead. The PowerFox after the pullback. Acadian though ignited. Yasui trying to chase him down. He's going to get the kill. Now it's 2v2. Yasui has a minute to dash away to, though. Gate can't really make his way through the tornado, and Eclipse and Lost found each other in the jungle. So first blood to OpTic, but a nice trade back for Fox.
Yeah, I'm surprised that worked out with Fox. If you saw Acadian's E stacks. I believe he was at 3 or 4 stacks. It was actually an insane amount of damage reduction early in the game, and so when Auto Orange E'd onto him, he really wasn't taking that much damage, as well as the fact that Alistar was already roaming. Swain has some nice range abilities like his W to come down. I thought OpTic were going to smash that fight, but it actually ends up working out decently well for them with that trade of kills. So you can see those rings underneath Acadian show how many stacks of E he has, each one giving him more armor and MR, and so this looked very dangerous, but his Q was not off cooldown quite yet. He had just used it to farm, so he couldn't drop that on top of them, and that's probably the only reason that this was not destruction for them, because they would have instantly popped Xin Zhao, and then they would have been able to follow up onto Yasui much better. Very dangerous fight there by Echo Fox, but ends up working out.
1 for 1. Looks like early Vamp Scepter actually for Yasui. Kind of curious where he'll go with item number 1. Perhaps Blade of the Ruin King, or perhaps just wants this for lane.
It's interesting. I mean, with Yasuo and his crit multiplier, it's very tempting to instantly just rush crit items, but we saw in the LCS, I believe it was Mickey who had gone for a pretty much no crit build, going Blade of the Ruin King into Frozen Mallet, and focusing more on being a bruiser so that he could follow up in the dive and buy space for his Kai'Sa. It was the same pairing, except it was bot lane Yasuo and a funneled Kai'Sa, but a very similar idea here, where there's a lot of frontline threats, and it seems like Yasui, going with that Blade of the Ruin King, could go for the more bruiser-focused Yasuo build.
Yeah, I think surprisingly flexible for a champion that has a passive that says, you get more crit when you build it.
Yeah, it's so tempting to be like, well, let me get 2 crit items, so I'm at 100% crit, IE plus any Shiv item will get me to 100% crit, and then I destroy people's faces. And it's like, well, you also do a lot of damage normally, and if you don't die instantly, it's pretty good too.
Yeah, it helps out, most certainly. Let's get Acadian actually sticking together pretty firmly. Gates, no early boots just yet. Actually hasn't gone back to shop, but at least covering Acadian on these scuttle takes. Yasui does pop down, get some vision. Eclipse is left all alone just to farm it. He looks okay for now.
Pretty hard to punish the Lucian from farming as the Shen Kai'Sa, so able to get on the map a little bit more is the Alistar, but not huge advantages generated thus far. An extra Scuttle Crab, it's nothing to write home about.
Still, I'm sure the jungle will take it. Acadian,
oh yeah, we take those.
Looking good so far. As Fox Academy trying to break a freeze here in the bot lane. This is all fully frustrating. Looks like it'll maybe start reversing soon. Lost gonna pop the plant, collect all the fruit. And Yasui level 6. Maybe fancy something. Palafox gonna start ulting first. Acadian already here. Yasui, no flash. Oh, good wind wall. He's gonna try and get himself out to safety. Tornado ready to go, but the Nova is really nice. Last breath actually dodged the ulti, but still died to Palafox. That was a valiant effort by Yasui.
That was one of the coolest looking deaths I've ever seen.
Yeah. Top 10 anime death.
Yeah, it was a very hyphy play by Yasui. Blocks the E coming back, the more important part. Did take the damage on the way out, so maybe you could say it would have been better to win wall right away, but it looked like the angle actually made it more difficult for Acadian to get the wall bounce on the Q. Have to rewatch it, but otherwise it looked like he played that pretty much optimally after kind of getting punished for dashing in. The E comes out, and he throws it the wind wall like that to stop Graves from being able to get an easier bounce off that wall. So even though it looked a little funny, it was actually better to do it that way. And then, like you said, the ult to hop over the ultimate from Graves almost kept him alive, but just not quite able to do it without that flash up.
Mini flow shield too tiny, so he does not live. As Doku actually steals away the blue buff. That some nice top lane pressure, despite the CS being even. Yasui fancies another go. Palafox no ult this time, no Acadian either in his back pocket, just taking some trades though.
Yep, probably figuring that Acadian was back in base after that fight. And like you said, Doku getting a nice steal, but not the end of the world on any of those champions. Xin would love it, but doesn't need it.
Nice taunt there, but I'm gonna get headbutt and pulverized up. Eclipse still throwing shots in. Adrian has to be a bit more careful, I think. Now the culling happens. Eclipse! Able to get the 2v2 kill. Adrian, little greedy.
And that flash just barely not up. And there you see the struggles of the laning phase for Kai'Sa. She got 4 stacks on the gate, just has no way to win the trade without popping that. And with such a long trading pattern required, if it's not going to be a quick, just kind of auto Q trade, can really struggle. And there you see it, just kind of baiting Adrian to stay around too long.
It's the TP in from Lost. Gonna try and save the turret. Got pretty low, but Lost should be able to keep it alive. Working on that raid void, still not there just yet. And Acadian gonna take yet another crab here on the right-hand side. There's a Drake up for grabs, but there's also a potential dive. Instead, it looks like quick reset here for OpTic. They want to spend their gold. 1,600 there for Eclipse, so certainly wants to go back and buy some items.
Yeah, very understandable that they don't want to overstay and risk getting collapsed on with their bot lane recalling. Mountain Drake would be nice, but it's not kind of the main focal point of this comp. They're not really a team that wants to go crazy all in for Drakes, or Baron, excuse me, though they do have a lot of damage threats. They really want to focus more on killing the enemy team.
Well, not much of that happening in top lane. Nintendo still farming up despite the team-at pressure from Zokla's Aatrox. But again, we've seen Aatrox really get things going when he has a couple of items, notably Ginsu's plus one other. Gate, again, setting a trap, finds Odd Orange, headbutts him back, ready for the stun, looks for a slap, lands it. Acadian here, it's going to force a flash.
It's kind of funny, Acadian didn't look like he was hard committing to following up on that and still gets the flash out of Odd Orange. Nice play by Gate on the roams, having a very impressive game thus far all over the map.
Ooh, TP in, FOXA Academy starting something off, collateral damage out from Acadian. Adrian finds the snap pump, but Gate pops the ulti. Nintendo here gets a double knockup. Last burst on the backline as Yasui assassinates Acadian. Now Eclipse is here dancing through, gonna try and get a kill. Paolo Fox Nova takes down the jungler, 1 for 2 so far, but still maybe more to come. Yasui again diving back through, has lost his late to this fight.
Bit of a scarier situation for OpTic there, but they kited out well in the Swain. While the enemy team is focusing down the jungler, Acadian, he's able to run forward and get a lot of AoE damage off with his ultimate and pop that one to punish Odd Orange. And Dokla had the TP to follow if he wanted to, but was confident in his team's ability to kite that out and instead focuses on the top side, getting more gold for himself and getting some nice damage down on that turret.
Yep. No turret being taken just yet, so still first turret gold on the table. So we'll see how this all started off with Gate's nice trap here.
Yep, Gate does a really good job of basically getting a flash all by himself. The pullback by Swain scaring Odd Orange, so he flashes out. And then they're still doing some vision control and looking to punish Odd Orange's lack of flash, and it results in the enemy team going very hard on this collapse, but Gate does a good job continuing to disengage, has so many tools available, and they have to go so hard just to find these kills that Palafox is able to just kind of run forward and kind of work as that drain tank for his team. Goes a little bit too far forward there, wanting to get more damage, which costs him his flash, but not the end of the world as they're able to come out ahead of that trade.
Rift Herald though, as play picks back up. FOXA Academy able to get that objective. Gonna need to knock down a turret here because with only 4 kills to 2 and nothing else happening, OpTic are already 2,000 gold ahead.
And I think you were expecting OpTic to come out ahead as Yasui gets.
Whoa! That was some Dragon Ball Z stuff. As Yasui now gonna run away. Unfortunately, cool play is only gonna get you killed. A 4-man collapse for OpTic, and Gate gets kill credit.
It's like that move where the Dragon Ball Z character throws out all their attacks and there's a giant explosion and it looks really cool, and then the dust settles and the guy he did it to is completely fine. Yeah, you took Palafox down to half HP, but you died doing it.
It looked really cool. Yasui certainly mechanically on top of this Yasuo, but unfortunately OpTic are not biting. The 2 deaths now for the ass, as Acadian looking for farm. Yeah, meta Krug camp he didn't like too much, especially the enemy one. Gonna shoot that down, steal it for himself. Also has a pink ward once he runs out of bullets.
And it feels like Yasui's struggling a little bit with the fact that his team is down pressure in a lot of lanes. Gate has been all over the map, non-stop, doing a great job converting that winning bot lane into pressure elsewhere on the map. Acadian with the Graves, just a great tempo jungler, and has been able to get onto the enemy side of the map a fair amount and force trades and things like that. And Yasui sometimes just gets caught up. I mean, that's one of the things, I think it was Dopa saying that the greatest struggle of playing Yasuo is controlling your power.
Yep.
Like, yes, you can go and take that trade and win that trade, but guess what? The enemy team has advantages elsewhere on the map and collapse first.
His play pattern says play as much in your opponent's face as you can. Unfortunately, when you overuse that irresponsibly, you get ganked.
And here's Gate trying to cover up to the top side. We'll get 1 charge off, but probably will not be able to take the turret with this.
Yeah, I'm in love with the Rift Herald there for Fox, perhaps timing out there for Odd Orange. So first turret gold, not up for grabs. OpTic already took bot lane turret, excuse me. But Fox will not get a trade of turrets either.
It's probably the lane that's going the best for them, all things considered, though, as Nintendo is basically equal in CS. His turret did get beaten up that one time that he can teleport, and Dokla didn't. But all things considered, that was maybe one of your better attempts at getting a good Rift Herald charge off, because you don't have pressure in your bot or mid lane at all.
And I think part of the issue there is that we expect Doku to take over at least 1v1 pressure-wise, maybe even kill threat-wise, once he does get those items. So Titanic's now finished. Palafox has got the blue buff, so when only one lane is going well, and it's pretty even, and maybe forecasted to go worse as it happens. FOXA Academy certainly falling very far behind. They're 4,000 gold down with one turret being taken. Usually gold leads of this magnitude in the early game are because you're getting your objectives snowballed on, but it's just falling behind kind of in every metric right now.
Just don't have too many plays working out in their favor. The 2-2 Yasuo is the best you can hope for, but he's just been countered out by a 3-0-1 Swain, and you know, this is fine for OpTic to kind of slow the game down from here and work more with this pressure advantage. Like you said, the Titanic Hydra coming in for Dokla, putting down the bot side, put your dual lane in the top side and continue to win that, and then using your mid and jungle as well as your support, start roaming around, taking things over. All right,
well, both marksmen do have an item apiece, so maybe Lost feels like he can get a bit more aggressive, but Eclipse also feeling the same. Culling is going to find him. Killer Instinct flashes. Acadian going to look for the collateral damage. Eclipse just splashes forward instead. Now Adrian's going to get out of there as Division of Empire does just cut him off. A good smoke screen as well, I think, was actually what did it. And Acadian finishes it off with the collateral damage, gets the kill in onto the Shen.
The dive is still going on. He's in trouble now too.
No, Dokla flash auto, or no extra auto, needed it. Orange not going to try and turn around and onto Palafox, but he's so strong on the Swain. Orange now knows he has to get out of the way as Dokla was looking for a flight over the Raptor pit.
Very easily could have been 2 more kills in OpTic's favor. A last-second tornado forces Dokla to path around it, which buys space for Yasui to retreat. And then Orange goes in and picks a fight with Palafox, who probably could have stood his ground a little bit more, kited it out more than needed. And with that pressure, the mid lane turret drops. And a second ago, you were talking about a 4,000 gold lead with only 1 turret, almost up to 7K with 3.
Yeah, Eclipse gets the top, 3 in mid get that one. So watch us play again. Lost just very aggressive.
Yeah, just so much more power early on with that power spike of the Blade of the Rune King. Press the attack coming in. The Plasma passive never really gets popped, and Adrian also caught out of position, having some struggles in all of their lanes.
And now Palafox was roaming up, instead goes back down, and we know how that story ends as OpTic continuing to apply real good pressure. And this is where you have to really start worrying as Fox. You know, maybe some losses before, some misexecution, getting a little too far ahead of yourself, but you are now extremely far behind in this early game.
And your comp is not really one that stalls out super well. We're talking about 4 melees and a Kaisa, which from slightly behind or ahead is great, because you can dive like crazy and buy space for her. But now, how do you get onto Swain and stop him? I guess kill the
good knock-up after the stand United. You see, he doesn't even need the help. He'll take the shield as he dives the turret, but he does take down Eclipse.
That was a good timing by them, as a lot of people by OpTic were on the bot side of the map and resetting. A little surprised to see them not greed out for this turret. You need to start taking some risk. You see, we could have been hitting it the whole time.
Yep.
Waits for Gate to show up before sticking around.
Yep. Gate running interference, does use the Pulverize, now going to eat some damage from the Yasuo. Does have his ult, flash, and ignite already, and finally, 2 more people roam up as Fox do take the turret. So they'll get some gold back, but they're still a ways away from equalizing this game.
But a good first step. There's a lot more steps to come after it, but you got to take the first one first. And they get some kills on the side lane, they get their first turret, and they shrink it back down to about 5,000 from the 7 it was at a minute ago.
I think that was the most John Madden thing you've ever said, by the way.
I'm working on more John Madden-isms. They're great.
As Dokla contesting this red buff, 1v2 right now. His teammates coming through. Adrian's there, red buff to Lost. Dokla out of there.
Finally gets an execute on screen and is able to blow up the red buff. Just needs to start working on getting those on champions.
Yep. Needs a second item to get things really going. Gets his rage blade done. Of course, Nash's tooth presumably on the way after that. And you may be getting a wish from one of the earlier games, Mark. Eclipse, Blade of the Ruin King into, I assume, Essence Reaver with those components.
Hey!
The exciting Lucian build.
It's one of those things where enough people are ahead elsewhere in my game. I don't need to build the 100% reliable old Black Cleaver build, even though there's an Ornn with a bunch of armor items and, you know, Aatrox is physical damage and Graves is physical. Oh, I guess Graves is building the Black Cleaver.
There you go. He's the bridge. Eclipse will... Oh, he actually has it now as well. So Acadian, after jungle item, has finished off his cleaver. I'm really hoping Eclipse finishes this Essence Reaver soon, because I want to see some Lucian stuff.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like I was saying, it's not the easiest thing to pull off. So if people don't know, the passive, or excuse me, the Essence Reaver, the way it works is when you use your ultimate, your auto attacks now reduce the cooldown of your other abilities.
Yes.
Combine that with his auto attacks reducing his dash already and having really low cooldowns kind of inherently. He basically just turns into a machine gun, spell-slinging, dual-wielding pistol bearer.
Yep, I think Release Lucian kind of had some similarities. There was a point where
there's a mini rework.
Similar. Yeah, there was a mini rework where basically that dash cooldown thing happened, and it was maybe a little lower than they would have liked, but it was described as ice skating Lucian.
Yeah, and it's back, baby.
Yep. You know, you got to do a little bit more work. Skate's pretty expensive these days, but once you get there, it's real fancy stuff. And I get why, you know, it's maybe not the most consistent option, as you said, but it is the fun one to watch. So at some point, maybe Eclipse will pop off, or he'll pop off right into the enemy Yasuo and die instantly. These are the dangers of playing Essence Revolution.
That's how it goes a little bit. You need to start it with your ultimate, of course, whereas usually the culling, like we saw in the previous kill that he got, was used to finish off an opponent. Now you kind of got to use it at the start, and then you cancel it to get your auto attacks off to reduce cooldowns, and the whole thing can quickly fall apart because it's kind of forcing you into a suboptimal combo compared to what you usually do.
But he does not have Essence Reaver, so we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully, it's something exciting. It'll be really upsetting if we build up all the suspense and the payoff is Eclipse face checking someone and dying.
I mean, the scary thing is that like this game could easily just turn into Swain running at 4 melee champions and no one killing him, and that's just how every fight's decided. But that's not fun to talk about. So let's hope it's Essence Revolution who pops off.
I mean, also a possibility, PowerFox almost fully stacked the Rod of Ages. Sonya's now done, so he can play brazenly aggressive in the face of FOXA Academy, who are still piecing together their second items on every single champion. Gold lead holding strong for OpTic as they look to assault the Baron. There's another mountain up if they want it, but they've already got 2 with plenty of damage deals. Baron is a very simple threat for them to start here. FOXA Academy will need to react quickly to stop that objective take.
Yeah, they got to clear their wards out a little bit better here as they don't have any in the pit to catch that ward on the backside. But they're also just so far ahead that they can kind of just take any fight they want. So even if you force the Baron down, Acadian probably won't be taking too much damage from it, and you can get a nice turn off with a gate flash headbutt pulve combo.
Yeah, it looks like just not many control wards in general right now for OpTic, so probably gonna have to go back and set that up whenever they feel like it. Perhaps waiting for the next Drake spawn, but that's not for at least 2 minutes.
I just always wonder, you know, those pink wards that I see behind Baron buff, like you see there on the other side of the red wall. You're up a bunch of gold in the game. Move it forward more. I always imagine those being mid laner pink wards where they're like, look, my pink ward's down. What do you want me to do? I'm contributing to vision score. And it just always tilts me a little bit.
Well, Gate, I think
that one right there.
Yep, Gate's going to remedy the situation. It's okay. Now we have to go and find out. Oh,
it was Swain's. I was right. It's always the mid laner who puts their wards down in useless spots.
All right, well, there.
Once again, why are you not warding the pit?
All right, well, Gate's going to do that. I think he's going to sweep things out. He does have 2 pink wards. And they found it. All right, this is a real good vision setup for OpTic. Only 1 blue trinket here. It is up and available for loss, but Dokla pressuring bot side lane. PowerFox also doing the same. Nintendo's getting a pretty good run in these 1v1s, but that's enough for OpTic to push out their lanes and start to threaten the objective.
Yeah, that Bramble Vest makes it a little bit more difficult for the Aatrox to do that kind of lifesteal tanking that he loves to do, but he still has priority and keeps Bjorn pushed in, so he can always make some quick TPs as Acadian tries to solo this down. Not working too great.
All right, another marksman joining the pit. No vision at all, though, for FOXA Academy. They see Yasui, but he's going to be late to check if he even checks at all.
No reason to assume it as they snipe.
Much smarter. All right, this Baron's dead, though, I think, but who is going to get out? Oh, Yasui wants it. Now going to go for the kill. A good win wall, actually. Versus 2 marksmen isn't bad. But everyone's going to get out clean. They had to burn no summoners to get out of there.
Just Eclipse's ult to get that kind of increased damage, and then you get the cooldowns on your auto attacks. I'm not sure if that applies to only the champions or not. I don't believe.
No.
I don't think it's only the champions, so
I don't think so either.
It's a pretty good burst damage to Baron, all things considered.
2 dashes, which explains why they didn't need to use their flash. So now OpTic, pretty sneaky Baron. I think that's maybe like one of those things that's like too cute. It's not necessary, but hey, it worked out.
I didn't mind it because you're doing it with relatively safe champions. Like you said, with their dashes, Lucian and Graves can hop out the pit, and they had good vision to see anyone collapsing. They saw it was only Yasui, and they're not that scared of just a pretty shut down Yasuo at this point, so they just you know, finish it and hop the wall. I think it was, like you said, maybe a little cuter than necessary, and it doesn't end the game as quick as a full 5-man bait into turn-off teamfight ace, but it's also not as risky either.
Gets the job done, I think, at the end of the day. Oh, here we go. Eclipse, trying to make a montage. Keep going. Oh, Gates flash following. Yasui still dashing away. No montage created today. I thought Eclipse ulted. I guess he just got it back now. So that was a Q instead. I apologize. Montage will have to wait.
Yep, gonna have to wait on that. It was a good attempt, but Adrian was ready, and there were some creeps in the mid lane for Yasui to use to hop on out of there. So not able to find the kill, but still up a lot of pressure on the map. Going to be able to drop this mid lane turret. It's about one breath away from falling down.
Past the creeps. Oh, Cannon's coming in. Goodbye.
Cannon always takes the credit.
Past the creeps are the real MVPs. Dokla also insanely strong. 2 items now finished. This is the point where people really don't like to face Aatrox, and the rest of OpTic are also very far ahead. So here comes the fight. Bit of a last ditch effort perhaps. Good flash from Eclipse. Didn't have his dash off cooldown, so forced to burn the summoner.
Yep, does have to flash out, but there's still a bunch of side waves being pushed in, so the cost of that flash is a bot lane turret. And I got producers in my ear. They confirm that the Essence Flare, the ability you get when you use your ultimate, does trigger on your auto attack, so you're fine. You can do it to Baron.
There you go. All planned from Eclipse. There's OpTic looking for a 3-lane siege. This is when you know it's struggle street for a team. Baron buff still for a minute longer, and you're about to lose all 3 inhib turrets at once by the looks of things. Instead, OpTic backing off a little, maybe thinking about the Mountain Drake. I think you can think about that later. Looks like they're going back to the waves, just trying to set everything up and not get engaged on more than anything else. Nintendo's ult is still on such a long cooldown at this point.
Yeah, the waves are crashing at kind of in irregular times. The top wave was cleared out, then the bot wave, now the mid, but they're just so far ahead, it's not like FOXA can really do anything about that. So mid inhibitor is going to drop very quickly. Palafox still working down this bot one, and like we said, 4 melees plus a Kaisa is going to have a tough time wave clearing against the Baron buff.
Especially when this far behind, so still OpTic continue their pressure on the inhibs. Nintendo's ult's about to come back up. I'm going to take a guess and say that's when they try quite probably the final fight of this game.
Does feel like it's a bit of a last-ditch effort that you hope the enemy team kind of flubs, or you find a great engage and Kaisa pops off or something, but it's very difficult to do. Looks like Palafox wants to shop and maybe TP back in. The Baron buff is running out, but it is an open inhib, so there's the TP coming back.
Yep, already got mid. Looks like bot side's going to be taken out soon. Gate threatening. Yasui with a good tornado, but trying to keep him off. Great pull there from Gate. Turret top side destroyed. Odd Orange going in. They're trying to make something happen, but still, they're just slowly losing his inhibs. About to be not that slow as the marksman walk up. There's Nintendo. Adrian misses his taunt flash. That's twice this game as Palafox looking to rip through the rest of them. Yasui diving onto a cliff, getting a good work done, but he dodges the next tornado, gets the kill, does finally die, but Palafox is destroying the rest of them along with Zokla, who's finally going to get himself a kill participation. Oh no, maybe he's not going to. Palafox, do it for your teammate. There we go, an assist finally on the board as that's almost everybody dead. The aces there, OpTic, are going to take down the game.
Dokla gonna finally get a kill contribution. Would have been pretty sad to end the game without it. But a very good team performance all around by OpTic. Gate and Acadian getting things started early on with their aggressive invades and roams. Palafox being in position to follow up. And then good map plays all over to kind of blow this game open in a very one-sided victory.
It was at the end of the day, and it didn't feel like individually there was something so like skill ceiling wise that was really punishing FOXA. They're good players pretty much across the board. It just felt like OpTic looked cleaner, and maybe that is Acadian coming down to this team. It is bringing something else to it that's making the difference. It's obviously hard to say, but whatever is happening for this iteration of OpTic in just the one game we've seen did look very clean.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that was also just kind of the strategy that OpTic employed, where they had a bit of a tempo advantage with their jungler, some winning lanes, and they played around mid lane very, very heavily to kind of suffocate Yasui, who had been the star performer on FOXA thus far. And so he's playing Yasuo, he's playing this aggressive champion, but people are always around him, and it's very difficult to find a time to try and get your team advantages because, hey, you're the guy who usually gets them their leads.
And again, we talked about PowerFox being a player to look for as far as what he can do when he gets gold. Did very well on this win. I mean, it wasn't like an individual contribution from him that really put it over, but his team helped him, and he kind of carried the ball the rest of the way.
It's one of those things where he's not Yusui. So Yusui's like, I'm playing Aurelia, I'm playing Rumble, I'm popping off and doing great things. He's playing the mages, he's playing as a team, he's doing the right things as a teammate, and so he's always ahead and always contributing and doesn't really get shut down that frequently. And that's one of his biggest strengths thus far, is the fact that he's playing very strong mages and always being relevant in the games.
And I think the last thing there for me is Gate. I mean, a player that has played many different roles, certainly has a lot of knowledge about the game. He played really well, just in the heads of his opponents, it felt like, all game long.
Yeah, forcing flashes with almost no cost to himself, getting enemies to engage on him and disengaging properly, always just being like a huge thorn in their side. Even when he wasn't converting it directly into kills or turrets or anything, just still constantly kind of needling at Echo Fox, and was the catalyst for a lot of the biggest plays as well. Dokla up on the top side, got heavily out-damaged by Ornn, but hey, he's mostly auto-attacking minions and just pushing waves.
Yeah, I mean, he was 0-0-0 right until the end of that game, and if his passive wasn't up, he wouldn't have even got... Actually, I think he might have gotten assist because you get them post-mortem, but...
It depends how, far back Nintendo want to play, because he easily could have just ran back to Fountain like, yeah, the game's over, and then he wouldn't have gotten that kill. So, nice on Nintendo to give Dokla some scoreboard stats.
And those damage numbers at the end were very close across the board. I mean, you mentioned Dokla, obviously, maybe not having a standout game just from that one metric, but OpTic really just played well around the map. They got their gold leads. They didn't force too much. They just kind of did the right thing almost every step of the way. And that was enough to take on Echo Fox, whose struggles, unfortunately, are kind of continuing.
Yeah, you can saw that there were times where Echo Fox did want to make their own plays, but there was either a mechanical misstep or they were just not taking one extra thing into account. So sometimes, Adrian's missing his flash taunts. Sometimes the enemy team is collapsing faster, or they're focusing the wrong target, trying to kill and ulting, Alistar. These kinds of things that, you can see that they have a lot of the right pieces there. They're just not all slotting in together.
And it's kind of interesting to think forward again. OpTic, a team who both here in Academy now and in LCS have been kind of on the rise. We can only speculate with Acadian moving down, at least for this one game, especially because Fnatic did play yesterday. Normally, when you are going to play that roster, you lock them in for both days, because I think it's pretty hard to divide your practice time between two teams otherwise. But it is, I think, safe to say that OpTic as an organization, given how their spring went on both sides in LCS and Academy, certainly seem to be on the rise. Whatever they are doing structurally seems to be fixing kind of a lot of their issues.
Yeah, and one of the things they talked about was that they had moved their Academy team from, I believe it was in Texas, to Los Angeles, and now they are able to work together between the main team and the Academy team, which has so many benefits. I mean, not only are you guys able to share information, but you can watch scrims easier and just talk, even if it's not directly subbing people out. You can still just easily get way more information between your two teams.
Well, hey, let's find out maybe more about that. To hear more about the victory, I'd like to welcome PalFox to the broadcast via Skype. Swain Master PalFox, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, actually.
So tell me about that.
It was
I was gonna say.
Sorry.
Yeah, go for it. Tell me about that game from your perspective.
I actually kind of didn't want to play Swain mid, but it seemed like the best pick there, and it's actually a pretty free win, IMO. So it was fun.
What would your pick have been? The PalFox pick, if there's nothing to stop him there that he wants to lock in to try and style on him.
He'll definitely tell us his secret.
Yeah, yeah.
Actually, I was kind of like a little bit lost for the pick against Yasuo there, but after thinking about it, I think Renekton would have been pretty good. So
that's
definitely Renekton.
That's an interesting one that we've seen crop up a lot more often in the meta.
Kind of pick sometimes in mid lane. I have to ask, I mean, pretty stellar game across the board. How are you guys feeling kind of throughout the game? Because it did seem pretty straightforward for you.
It actually, I think everyone was pretty confident going into the game. And like when Yasuo like dashed in on me at like level 7 and ulted me with my Alistar and my whole team right there, we kind of assumed we won at that point.
Difficult.
So it was.
Yeah, difficult for the Yasuo there. So speaking about your story a little bit, you came up through the scouting grounds, and before that, there wasn't too much hype or noise about you, and then you had a great showing at the scouting grounds, get picked up by OpTic, and now kind of making your name as one of the primary mid lane players in all of Academy. What's this kind of whole roller coaster been for you?
So first I was get picked up by Clutch. Like I got drafted by them, but because of the draft rules, I couldn't really talk to any teams. And then like I was kind of panicking for a little bit, so I ended up contacting the people at OpTic, which is where I worked, or like scouting grounds team I was on. and they basically just like offered me the job, and it's been pretty great so far. I actually really love like working in LA with PoE. I think he's like probably the best mentor I could have had.
And, you know, that's exactly what we're going to ask you. So how has that been? Obviously, the team moved from Dallas, I believe, now into Los Angeles. What was that first experience like before we get into the specifics of Power of Evil? Like, what was just moving the team physically next to the LCS team like, and kind of those changes there?
So we scrimmed against the LCS team a little bit from Texas, but we didn't really have like much interaction other than that. But now, like in LA, whenever I'm like confused about a matchup, I can literally like go directly to him. He's really, really nice, really open about it. And it feels really nice like working together with him.
Is there anything specifically that he's taught you? Again, without revealing too many secrets. You can reveal some. I won't tell anyone, I promise. This definitely isn't on camera. But I mean, like, I guess what's the biggest thing apart from just having, you know, play with that much experience in his role to kind of teach you something? Is there something specifically or a few things that you've really picked up on?
So scrimming against him now, I'm kind of like, initially I was getting smashed, you know, and now like after a lot of scrims against him, I'm really learning how to like lane pretty well. He's really, really good at roams, and I think he has a different outlook on the game than a lot of other players. So I'm just learning like a different aspect that I actually never knew was there.
All right, how many Nash's Tooth games are we going to
I was about to ask, I didn't know if I wanted to ask it. Like, how many champions has he made you build Nash's Tooth on?
Currently only one.
Oh no.
So I think it's really good actually.
Okay.
Like, to be fair, it is more meta than it had been in the past with some of the Kai'Sas in the mid lane and things like that.
That's
so
true.
I'm all right.
All right, well, great to hear things going well. Thank you, and congratulations on the win.
All right, thank you.
All right, well, Nash's Tooth aside, we have one more game left of Academy action, so don't go anywhere. After the break, Clutch Gaming takes on TSM Academy. Getting a roam down happening. Good smokes in there from Acadian. Gate with a double knock up there from the pulverized on Orange. He's dead to Palafox after the pullback. Acadian low ignited. Tornado ready to go, but the Nova is really nice. Last Breath actually dodged the ulti. Gate pops the ulti Nintendo here, gets a double knockup. Last Breath on the backline as Yasui assassinates Acadian. Maybe Lost feels like he can get a bit more aggressive, but Eclipse also feeling the same. Culling is going to find him. Killer Instinct splashes Acadian. Going to look for the collateral damage. Eclipse just splashes forward instead. Palafox looking to rip through the rest of them. Yasui diving onto Eclipse, getting a good work done, but he dodges the next Tornado. Gets the kill, does finally. OpTic are going to take down the game.